If it's undercovered, underreported, or a waste of time, you can be sure we'll be heard. Nothing is off limits.
Welcome to Broad Street Radio.
Welcome to Broad Street Radio. I'm Michael Morris. With me today, my special guest, John Bryant. John, how are you?
Pretty good.
Is this your first foray into podcasting or broadcasting in general?
It is.
Okay. We're going to have fun with this.
In a smoke-free environment, though.
Wait a minute. Now I got to know. You did some broadcasting with smoke around it?
We don't talk about that anymore.
Oh, you mean like in the basement? I see what you mean. You're listening to some like Bowie records. It's fine.
Maybe.
There's no judgment on this show, except when you leave, and then we judge you when you're gone.
Okay.
I thought, you judge him when he's here too, so don't play like you.
Yeah, but I don't want him to know we're doing it. Nate's taking notes on your behavior. I wanted to talk to you because one, we are buddies, but the other part is your kids have recently joined the Navy, correct?
Correct.
So nationally, the story is coming out that Biden wants to get rid of student debt. So as a father of two girls, I have one girl. How do you feel about that? Because I don't know if your daughters join the Navy. You can give the backstory on this. If they join the Navy because they want to join the Navy, or if they join the Navy because they want to get their school paid for.
It's not the school part. My oldest daughter picked like different schools that she wanted to go to. The school that she's at now, Georgetown, is not the school that she chose. Whenever she went to like orientation day to learn about it, she was wearing like a jean jacket her class jacket is what she was wearing. All the other kids were preppies and wearing their whatever prep kids wear today. She doesn't have that. So it was a learning experience. But
my cousins went to Georgetown to go to school for nursing.
Yeah.
Like their family moved from Grove City to Virginia. And then it was, well, we got to go to Georgetown. That's the place. Because there's no place better, I guess, for nursing, from what I understand. But it's just funny that now your daughter going to Georgetown is for nursing, right?
We told our kids from when they were small that they would end up going to Columbus State for the first 2 years, and then they could transfer to Ohio State.
Which is a community college here for anybody that's not from Columbus.
Correct. So they would go there for 2 years and then go to the school of their choice basically afterwards. That was the money that we had saved up in their 529s. So it worked out for them.
Would you, as a dad, have done something differently if you knew student loans would get wiped out? Now, I'm going to get more into the student loan, what they're actually wiping out, because, like you just said, you saved money. This is what we have allocated. This is what we could do because we work for a living. You can only put so much away. It's hard to make ends meet on everything, to have a house, to put them through school, sports, or whatever. But would you have changed how you felt about it if you knew they would wipe the debt out?
No, I'm not. I guess I'm not a proponent, or I don't agree with the idea of student debt being wiped out.
So everybody in this room that does this show, except Nate, is a working man, right, Nate?
No.
See? So when I look at that, I look at the responsibility of you took out the loan. Correct. Right? You knew what you were getting into, and now you can't pay it off, and now you want the government to bail you out. John, in the history of this country, how many times has the government helping you out worked out in your favor?
Well, I never qualified. When I truly needed help from the government, we made too much money that year.
Right.
And so
don't you think that's funny that, you just didn't make it. The bar was just a little too low. We couldn't get you there. My issue with it is, having a daughter that's a sophomore as of today, so congratulations to my daughter for not being held back. When I look at this, I think I would still want to pay the money. Like, I still want it done right. I want that she earned it, that I paid for it, that I earned it. I think we are, as a country, looking at it like, oh, you just made some mistakes.
There is one scenario that I do like where student loans are wiped out, and that's where a teacher is willing to go to an inner city school and have their loans forgiven.
But see, in that case, and that's a great point, is that you are doing something that other people don't want to do, so you should get a benefit.
Some type of extra pay, I would guess.
But so the loan forgiveness in this program is $10,000, and it's selective on what it is. Okay, so if you went to Ohio State and you got a degree in marketing, that's not going to be forgiven. It's going to be in the most extreme circumstances, the way that they phrased it. So how many people have college loans? Like teachers, they can all line up for this. The majority, I would say over 97%, are not even going to sniff this. So I had a conversation with my daughter. Had the same teacher in 4th grade and then 6th grade. And she said, have you heard of the quiet quitting trend? So you don't like your job. So Larry's going, hey, where's John today? You didn't even tell him you quit. You just stopped showing up. That's a new trend. So there were 6 7th grade teachers. 4 of them quit. 2 of them got out of teaching altogether because the kids were just that bad. That's quiet quitting. Why would you, if you have this debt and then you have to deal with rowdy kids on top of it, it's almost like that degree is worthless to you because it's not bringing you any happiness. Like, I don't know if I went to college. Did you go to college?
Yeah.
So college to me was like the biggest, it's like a 4-year job interview. I did it in slightly under 4.5. It is, can you do these dumb projects that don't do anything for your life? Can you get them turned in on time? And can you memorize facts for a test? Did you feel college was...
First 2 years, in your case, same as mine, about 4.5, 5 years, to get the 4-year part. The first 2 years was not of value. But once I got to my junior, senior year, I was very focused on business.
Once you get into your core.
Correct.
So you have to get through the first 2 years, which is a tremendous way to earn money for a school.
Correct.
But also to wipe you out because this is boring. This is repetitive. I'm not getting into what I came here for. It's the ultimate bait and switch. Get your 4-year degree. 2.5 years and you're not going to be doing anything in your field. And then when I got into my field, there was no job placement or we know these people. To get into media, nobody there knew anybody in media. So you still had to send out your resumes. I'm sure it was the same thing for you.
Correct.
But, paying that much, I think my school was $50-some thousand. That was back then. Correct. I think today that same school is like $80,000 or $90,000.
I think I owed about $40,000 approximately by the time I was done.
But when you were going through it, you just thought, well, I'll pay it off eventually, right? Like it didn't stop
stuff. You just sign stuff
right.
so you can finish, basically.
Right.
You don't take into consideration actually how much money it really is.
Is the college like the mob? There is no mob in this country, by the way. But the mob. You're going to sign a document you don't really understand to get to somewhere at the end. This is like dealing with Colonel Tom Parker. Yeah, you're going to make $1 million. You just have to do 2 shows a night for the next 7 years in a row. And I'm also getting paid. Like, that's how I feel like these contracts or these loans are presented. Like, well, if you want the degree and you don't have the money, this is your way to get it. $40,000. How long did it take you to pay that off?
I don't know.
10 years, 15?
It was within.
Yeah. But I mean, think about that. That's
7,
10
8
years and you can't like hook a TV up to it. It's not a house, right? No. It's the most miserable thing in the world. I think
the hardest part about college degree and how much you pay out for your college degree and how much time does it actually take you to earn that money back.
Right.
So and at trying to find the right job, right? So you're doing all this learning about being a CEO or running this company or selling this giant thing, but you're right, you don't get into that field. You're going to have to sack groceries for a while or right. do DoorDash or whatever it is today just to try to get you through those first few doors.
You just brought up something I think is interesting. Do you think it's harder on people today that they have college degrees because of how hard it is? The cost of living, I think I looked at it, the cost of living from when I graduated is up like 12% on average. I'm not just I'm just saying to buy a home, obviously, it's gone up like 33%.
Yeah.
But if you had, that's without a family.
When we start looking at cost of school, in general, $50,000 to $70,000 per year for someone to go to school today. Just a traditional college. It's nothing big, just regular school. Then living expense is $10,000 for the year. You're going, that's a lot of money.
That's if you're lucky.
Who comes out of school making $80,000 a year so they can pay that, off in a relatively short period of time?
Well, so a bunch of the guys I hang out with are blue collar guys. Like I consider myself a blue collar guy that just deals in a white collar industry. But they'll tell me that people that work in paint, like in body shops, those guys make like, I think they said $175 an hour because there's not enough of them.
Yeah.
But when you're coming out of school, you're only going to make $30 an hour. And I thought, if I'd have made $30 an hour when I came out of school, I probably would have never left that job. But these guys are in such demand because people went to college versus learning a trade.
I think what's interesting today are jobs that are still advertised at $10 to $12 an hour. Like, okay, you could go work at Amazon
Right.
for like $20 an hour, or you could go serve hot dogs or hamburgers for 10 or 12.
I wish I could talk to some of those people and just understand because so one of my clients is Papa John's, and for 6 months we ran this ad that they were paying up to $20 an hour. They couldn't get anybody. If you'd have told me, I think I made $4.05 my first job at Blockbuster Video, and I ran that son of a bitch in the ground. It's out of business now, but at the time, $4.05 at 16
your
years
fault.
Yeah,
It's
All
really
your
your
fault.
fault.
I'm
All
the
your
one.
fault.
I am the one that came up with the Netflix idea and just gave it away. But when I look at that and I look at you could make $20 an hour, I'm still thinking like a 16-year-old. Like if I work 30 some hours, and they give you benefits, by the way, even if you don't work the full 40. I think about the value of your college education versus money. Which now we're both older guys now, but back then, what would have made more sense, the money or the education? To you.
I tell my kids, because it's easy to get sucked into a job, school's most important. So when we were in kids are in high school, still the same thing. Until 2020 hit, now they figured out they can go to school and get a job. And they were working 30 plus hours a week and getting decent grades in school. So but while they're in this college phase, I'm saying it's easy to get sucked into a low paying job just to have a little extra cash. I'm like, you don't need extra cash right now.
Right.
You're okay. You don't really focus on your school and get done, do well, because it'll stay with you for the rest of your life.
Well, it's like you said with Amazon. Even if they pay you $20 an hour, there's not a lot of freedom. I think the lunch breaks are 28 minutes. You know, they keep track. They make you wear those wristbands if you went to the bathroom for too long or whatever. So they kind of have you under their thumb. But at $20 an hour, what is the raise? Do you make $25 an hour? But that's not really a skill. Boxing things is not a skill. It's almost like trade schools got forgotten about. So it's either you're going to join this shitty workforce over here or go to college. But this job, a teacher, I think that on average makes $22,000 a year in Ohio.
I would
First
doubt
year.
that. Well, possibly.
First year. I'm
possibly
saying
first year.
But imagine that you get to your fifth year and you're making 35.
It's higher than that.
Well, I would not. To me, I still think I think they consider poverty as 31,000.
Something like that.
So those teachers are living in poverty wages. That's why I would get married if I was a teacher. I wouldn't even care. You're unattractive. I got benefits. I just need some more money. I don't know how you would plan your life around it. Like I always knew what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to get there. Like you said, you went to school for business. You knew you'd get in business somehow, but it wasn't like, John, if you do this, you're going to be right here.
I think I bought into the idea that I wanted to be the CEO of a corporation. Little did I know until I ran my own business what that meant of running a company. There's a lot of sacrifice, like personal sacrifice, in order for people to achieve those levels.
Your health, especially. All the stress and strain.
There's a lot of that.
What made you not want that? Like, were you 5 years into it, 1 year into it?
I think probably the learning experience was working in the banking industry, and did that for 11 years. There, they would tell you, we're paying you X dollars per year, and you're a negative or a liability on our payroll, and you need to be calling someone or you need to be generating new business. And it's a harsh way to treat people.
Right.
What skills, again, do you have that you could easily transfer over to make at least the same amount of money? It's very challenging to do that. But to go into the system and look at it and go, is this really what you want to go through in order to achieve that higher level of becoming an executive of some sort?
Did you ever feel, because I can relate to that in terms of when I was in radio. I get hired. I don't know what I'm doing. So I wanted to be on air. My resume went to the wrong end of the hallway, so I ended up selling radio without understanding it. I thought commercials ran so the jocks could go to the bathroom. I didn't know people paid for it. So after 20 years of being in this, I look back at it and it's like, I wanted to be a manager, not for the power part of it. It's that I didn't know what I was doing. And as I learned these things, you could see other people that might have had talent, but nobody paid attention to them, or they didn't recognize the signs like, you're going to lose this person, they're going to go sell insurance or whatever. I wanted to be the person at the end to say, hey, man, this is going to be okay, and let me help you out. Let me show you how it's done. That's not how management and media was. It's all about selling, selling, selling. It's not really about creativity, whether in TV, radio, whatever. I got to the point where I was at the top of the radio mountain, and you could look up and you go, oh, there's nothing above that. That job sucks. You got to look for something else to do. And it took me 12 years to get there to realize this is garbage. I've wasted a lot of time. Not wasted. I learned a lot of things, but it wasn't going to bring me anything other than more money. It was just going to invite more headaches. When you looked at that, what was the decision you made to get out of that industry?
What's the value of my family? I mean, part of that was 2008. The decision was made for me.
Oh, okay.
I was working on my MBA at the time, finished it up after I was let go from the bank, which I did have to pay the bank back for.
You had to pay them because you left?
Because they were paying for my degree.
Oh, I got you.
And since they fired me the way that they did, I then had to pay them back $15,000 and then pay the school $5,000 so I could go ahead and get my degree. But
it's the mob. Everything is the goddamn mob.
But what I think the values I took away from that was what's most important. When you lose something that means so much to you and your family, a livelihood, I'm supporting 3-4 people. Find out that those people are probably the most important thing to me, and that doing that type of job takes away from them. So I've been in those circumstances since then, where life just becomes so stressful that it ends up affecting your family, and I'm like, it's not worth that. So when I look at the guys that are making $250 and above per year, they're home for 6 to 8 hours, period. And they're doing something work related the rest of the time. Maybe take a couple hours out for church on Sunday, but what happens to the rest of their, productive time?
Do you ever look at it as, because I had to learn a hard lesson in my early 30s about it, that quality of life, like the only thing I would ever stop to do, and I wasn't really conscious, it was more with my daughter, was like, I got to raise my daughter at the same time I got to build this business. And I was almost treating them as equals. So when she was young, I didn't have money to fill my gas tank. And she lived in New Orleans, so it's a 25-minute drive back and forth. Not only do I not have that money, I'm $200,000 in debt because I get divorced. I'm living off of credit cards to build this business during the collapse, right? So the only thing we could do is, because I didn't have enough money to run her back and forth every night, it would stay at Easton Mall and go to the movies or go to because I could at least try to get through that to entertain her, but I always left my phone on. The only thing that really struck a chord with me is one day we're in and I am texting, I'm doing business on my phone, and the movie's over, and she says, Daddy, I wish you just didn't have to work this much. Like, she understood it, but I was like, I don't have to do this. So whenever we still to this day, every Monday go to the movies, I shut my phone off because whatever it is can wait.
Yeah.
But I had no quality of life at that point. And I wasn't conscious, I never say that word right. I wasn't aware of what I was doing to other people, because we could be talking. I'm not really listening to you. I'm not really taking the time. I'm not asking about you. It is, do you need me to do something for you? If you don't, then I move on to somebody else. I wasn't living my life. I was constantly running a business, even if it was personal. And when somebody really close passed away that had partnered with me to do these things, I realized towards the end of his life, he hated everything. He bought the business that we were working in. His marriage was falling apart. His relationship with his daughter, all of a sudden he realized I'm not spending that much time with her. And within 90 days from a diagnosis, he dies. I've never treated any, I never went back to that. That's why I think people are like, that guy's a little bit aloof, or I always dress like I'm the guy that's changing the water cooler. It's because I'm just being myself, right?
One of the key decisions, people have asked me why or how I've been able to be married for so long. We celebrate 30 years this year. We've been together for 4 years previous to that. And I would say it's been decisions based on what we just said. I've not taken jobs that are weekend related because the first part of my after school, I did work in the convenience store industry. I ended up working 70, 80 hours a week and sleeping, minimal hours and not seeing anybody else outside of work people basically during that time. So trying to take jobs that allow me to be home with my family at 6 p.m., 6:30, so we can have supper together. We can all sit down and look at each other face to face. Has been helpful to my wife. I wake up early. I get up. I've always gotten up early. Recently, it's been 4:30. I get up. Not that I wouldn't mind sleeping in. I just don't. My brain kicks in, and then I'm up. My wife can sleep forever. So
She's probably asleep right now listening to this.
I think she had to go to work today. It's at the house now, so she actually has to turn the computer on and actually go to work. But, at supper, everybody's awake. They've achieved their day. You can review with them, understand what's happened for them, what's happening to them. It's a good conversation to get to know your family, people that you love.
I wish more people really took that into account because, when I started my own business, there were still people on the other side that either were my boss or that I had worked with. And I think when you're on that, they used to always say that the building we were in, that was Wall Street. Millions of dollars are flowing through here. You have all these type A personalities and all that. When you get off that treadmill and you look back and you go, oh, they don't realize they can stop running. Like there's another choice. Well, once you get to a certain age, especially now when a recession is upon us and all that, they'll let these people go that have spent 20, 30 years being there, being in management, all that other stuff, because you're just a number. Like you said earlier,
Correct.
You are just another number on a spreadsheet. You hope that you recognize that early enough to where you're not 55, 60, 65, and now your whole purpose in life was taken from you. Your whole life is supposed to be about your family and what you experience. And I think that too many people get wrapped up into their position, like what they are, what they think they are. When that's taken away, like a Joe Paterno, that's taken away, he dies within a year because his purpose was gone. And I think people look at it and go, oh, well, I hated Penn State anyway. You're missing the lesson.
I think part of it also is people try to live to a certain lifestyle standard. In their mind, they've reached success if they live in a $500,000 to $800,000 home, or reach success whenever they can drive the Lamborghini, whatever it is, the car of choice. And then I think all those stories about the guys who've been successful and they win the trophy cup and they look inside the cup and find out it's empty.
Yeah.
It's that, where does, you're correct, it's a treadmill people are on.
But you can't tell until you get off it. And I'm not saying everybody should quit their job, but I think if anything the pandemic taught us is that it can be annoying to be around your family if you've been unplugged from them because it's unusual. Like, not that I was ever annoyed with my family, but it was like nobody had anything else to do. Let's call each other 10 times a day. Or my daughter, like we would watch entire series of shows that we'd already seen to the point where you're just like mind. But I was enjoying that because that's going to be a core memory for her and for I as we go on. But I think people didn't take care of themselves health-wise beforehand. And you realize I can go to work sick. I can do all these other things. No one's going to care. You're going to wear yourself down. That's the one thing I think came out of all this that's better for all of us. Like when we are hanging out, we're talking, we're all having a good time. There's like no stress. Wherever we're heading next, there could be stress, but it's at least we're enjoying each other's company. I think before, when we'd be in networking things, it was, oh, I gotta get this person to do business, this. I don't see that. I just see a bunch of people that come in 12 different cabs to one bus station, dick around, and then it's like, I'm so glad I saw those people, and now they're leaving. I'll see them next week, or I'll talk to them some other time, right? That's the one thing I think out of all this. I know we started with student loans, but to me, I think if people understood whatever it is you're doing, down the road, there's got to be a payoff. That payoff is not money. It should be your overall, I don't want to say happiness because that sounds so gimmicky, but it is. If you're not happy, doesn't matter how many material things that you have.
So the write-off amount was what, 10,000?
10,000.
How far is that going to go?
Oh, it'll go to nothing because most student debt is $33,000. And it's only
Minimum.
for a certain amount. Yeah, it's only for a certain amount of people because there's only X amount of dollars.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But what I do love about it is that you literally, same thing for me. You said you're happy with the path your daughters are on, and it wouldn't have changed your mind. This wouldn't have had any effect. And I think this is a one-time thing only. Thanks for coming today, by the way.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Broad Street Radio. We'll see you next week.
You're paying for my Uber, right?